You know, when we think about the internet, our minds usually jump to the tech, right? Fiber optics, servers, all that code. But that's not the whole story. Not even close. The internet really began as a dream, a kind of philosophical vision for where humanity could go. And that's the story we're going to dive into today. It all starts right here, way back in 1962. I mean, this is long before Wi-Fi, before anyone had a computer in their home. And this one guy, J.C.R. Licklider, he dreams up this intergalactic computer network. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, and honestly, at the time, it pretty much was. It was a vision of a future that was almost impossible to even imagine.
So before we get into the nuts and bolts, the cables and the code, we really have to understand the why. What was this dream of connection really all about?
Yeah, Licklider wasn't thinking about online shopping or streaming the latest shows. His big idea was all about empowering our collective brain power. He pictured scientists and thinkers all over the world, sharing their ideas in an instant, building on each other's work, basically solving huge problems together in a way that had never been possible before.
And this right here, this is the most mind-blowing part of the whole idea. See, back then, computers were these giant, cold machines that only huge institutions used. Licklider's dream was totally different. It was about people. The whole point of the network was to be a tool for human connection, not just a way for machines to talk to each other.
So how in the world does a big philosophical memo turn into an actual physical network? Well, the idea kicked around for a few years, and then the U.S. government's Advanced Research Projects Agency, or ARPA, decided, hey, let's actually try to build this thing. They called it ARPANET. And by 1969, a team at UCLA was all set to send the very first message to another computer over at Stanford.
Okay, so this is a huge moment, right? The very first message. They decided to send something simple, just 5 letters. Login. The plan was, the programmer, Charlie Klein, types the L, and the guys at Stanford call back to say they got it. Then the O, and so on. Easy enough?
But they only got 2 letters in. He typed L, then O, and the entire system crashed. So the first message ever sent on this revolutionary global network was, completely by accident, low. It's just a perfect little story, a great reminder that this world-changing technology had these incredibly humble, human, and let's be honest, kinda clumsy beginnings.
Now, for decades, ARPANET and the internet that grew from it was basically this non-commercial sandbox for academics and researchers. But then a massive shift happened that would change everything about what the network was.
In the early 1990s, the floodgates were opened up to commercial business. Now, this unleashed an absolutely incredible wave of innovation, for sure, but it also completely changed the network's DNA. It wasn't just a digital library or a laboratory anymore. All of a sudden, it was also a shopping mall, a billboard, and a stock exchange.
And this slide, this really tells the whole story. It's like a tale of 2 internets. The early version was designed to be decentralized, so no one person or company could control it. It was built on these open, shared rules that anyone could use. But the internet of today? It's becoming more and more centralized around a few gigantic proprietary platforms. The goal has shifted from being a tool for shared research to being a machine for a data-driven economy.
So what's the result of that huge shift? Well, today we live in an internet of what a lot of people call walled gardens.
Remember Licklider's vision of a wide-open plane where anyone could connect with anyone? Well, if you look at a chart like this, you can see that's not really where we spend our time. Most of our digital lives happen inside the walls of just a few massive platforms. Only a tiny little slice of our time is spent on what you might call the truly open web.
And look, this has some really big consequences. It means that instead of you being a participant on the network, you often become the product. Our attention, our data, that's the new currency. The stuff we see is shaped by algorithms that are designed to keep us hooked, not necessarily to show us what's true. And all this centralization creates single points of control and failure, which is the exact opposite of how the internet was originally designed to be so resilient.
Which brings us right back to where we started, thinking about that horizon, that dream of what the internet could be.
When you look at the internet we have today, and you put it up against that original vision of an intergalactic computer network, you really have to ask the question, right? Have we kind of traded that incredible dream of an open, collaborative world for something that's maybe more convenient, but also way more controlled? Have we lost sight of that original horizon? But here's the thing.
The story of the internet isn't over, not by a long shot. The tech is always changing, always evolving. And even though today's world looks very different from Licklider's dream, the choices that all of us make, as users, as developers, as citizens, those choices are what will decide what the horizon looks like tomorrow. The next chapter? That's still ours to write.